Hi, and welcome to Pet Pals. I'm Linda Shea, Division Director. With me is Randy Cooper, and we've got 10 animals today we're going to take a look at that are in need of forever homes at the Frederick County Division of Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center. First little puppy we're going to take a look at is Phoebe. Phoebe is about 8 to 10 months old. She is a Chihuahua mix, and she was turned in by her owner. And one of the reasons we've got what we call a puppy process at our shelter is that so many people think that they want puppies until they actually have them in their homes. Puppies require a commitment of time more than anything. They do require resources as far as being able to pay for puppy food, for vet care, to get preventative shots, and those are some things that people oftentimes they just get enamored with the cuteness of a puppy. And a puppy like Phoebe, she is just 7 pounds, so she's small. That is kind of gets people's attention, and they don't focus on the reality that a dog like this needs vet care, preventatives, food. Phoebe's owners were feeding her cat food. They were saying that that was the only thing that she would eat, and we have learned in just a couple of days that she's been here otherwise. So she is on dog food now, and we've gotten her the shots that she needs. Prior to leaving here, she will be spayed, she will be microchipped with a permanent identification, and we will do an adoption interview for whomever is fortunate enough to adopt her to make sure that they're prepared and ready for a puppy. Puppies can do a lot of damage. They can damage furniture, they can damage carpets, they can whine at night. So it's a lot, and as cute as she is, she's just going to need somebody who's got some experience and is willing to put some resources into her. But this is Phoebe, our little Chihuahua mix. She's about 8 to 10 months old and only 7 pounds. This cute little guy is Scooter. Believe it or not, Scooter came to us as a stray from Pontiac Avenue in Frederick. So if you're missing a dog that looks like this, you want to make sure that you check the shelter. So often people will call in with lost reports, but the best thing is to actually come into the shelter and look. Scooter has been with us since April 26th. And per our protocols, we will hold strays for 5 days to allow owners to come forward to claim them. And for those of you that might be a little suspicious about how we return animals to owners, especially if they're purebred and they've been running at large for a while or supposedly come in as a stray, we do require proof of ownership. And proof of ownership means that you have taken this dog to a veterinarian, you have records of that, you have a bill of sale that you've purchased him, and we can call and verify with the breeder that you got him from or wherever you got him from that you did in fact purchase him. So there's different ways that we have to verify that. I think some people get concerned that we might just hand him over to somebody who claims that he's their dog. No, we require proof. But Scooter's with us now. He is available for adoption. He will not be with us too long because he's been pretty popular while he's in the shelter. One thing that I want to just bring to your attention, he is a dachshund. Dachshunds can sometimes have back issues, especially if we feed them too much. So you want to make sure that if you adopt a dog like this or acquire a dog like this, that you're measuring food. And the other thing that's not evident right now, Scooter has a very personable bark. So he will spend a lot of his time barking, even though he's being perfectly good canine citizen right now. You just need to be prepared that he does an awful lot of barking off-site. So if you're prepared for that, if you have maybe a dog friend that would keep him company, or if you can manage that, or just accept the fact that he is a bit of a barker, that would be ideal. But Scooter is of course a red dachshund, 12 to 14 weeks old. Before he leaves here, he will be neutered and microchipped, and we're looking forward to placing him in a forever home. This little guy is another puppy on our adoption floor. This is Tank. Tank is about 5 to 6 months old. He is a lab mix. He's predominantly black. He's got a little bit of white on him. And he came to us with his tail docked, so we're not sure of the history on that. Prior to leaving here, we'll make sure that he is neutered, current on shots. And Tank is another example of a family that thought they wanted a puppy. They had Tank for a week. and they decided he was too much to handle. And again, we don't try to discourage people from adopting puppies if you're prepared. What we do try to encourage is that you do some independent research before you acquire a puppy, whether it's from us or anybody else. And then on our end of the spectrum, we screen applications. We want to make sure that you are prepared so that the adoption is successful. The last thing we want to do is adopt out a puppy like Tank and have him returned for not being house trained or chewing on furniture or whining in the middle of the night or chasing the family cat, knocking over the toddler. There's all sorts of reasons that people turn in puppies. And when puppies are first starting out in life, generally speaking, there's this window of opportunity that you have to socialize them properly. You want to make sure that they get exposed to people of all different shapes, sizes, cultures, that they are exposed to different sounds and different experiences to kind of desensitize them. So once they've had that experience and they have that under their belt, they can become a more confident adult dog. If you miss that window of opportunity, then you kind of stunt their growth in that area. And part of the problem of rehoming puppies multiple times in a short amount of time, they lack consistency. And probably consistency is a dog's best friend when they're growing up and as they get older, to offer them just a consistent routine so that when they've had the combination of a consistent routine and multiple experiences, that just makes for a better founded, psychologically based dog. But Tank is with us now. We are looking forward to placing him in a home. As a lab, he is food motivated, and he does need structure, and he's going to need somebody that either walks the neighborhood, is willing to take him on a leash walk, and work off some of that lab enthusiasm. This little guy is Dumbledore. We named him. He came in as an owned animal, but I guess they didn't have a name for him. The family that turned him in was moving, so they couldn't take him along. Of the reasons that people surrender pets to our shelter, the top two is because they're moving, and the second most common is that they develop allergies or somebody in the family develops allergies. So you want to keep that in mind. Animals, we can't say it enough, animals are a lifetime commitment for the lifetime of the pet. We understand that family situations change, circumstances change, but when you have a pet in your family, you want to make sure that you do everything you can, and turning them into an open admission shelter should be the last resort. But Dumbledore is here now. The family that had him prior only had him 3 weeks, so they weren't able to give us a lot of information. He is a boy. He's lion head mix. He's about 5.5 pounds. And the one thing that we do for rabbits, rabbits don't require vaccines, but they can develop parasites. So we do a topical preventative for mites, as well as we make sure that we weigh them so we know that they're eating properly. We do, as with all of our animals here for bunnies, we also measure their food, so we make sure that we know what their intake is. The food is a good quality pellet food for bunnies. We also offer them fresh greens, carrots, not a lot of carrots, just a small baby carrot a day because of the sugar content is usually good for an adult bunny. If you're going to adopt a bunny, you want to make sure that, as you would with any pet, that you make sure that you have a veterinarian on board that is bunny fluent. You want to make sure that you also understand the requirements of a bunny. They're just as much work as cats and dogs. They need their nails trimmed. They need a vet visit at least once a year. You need to make sure that they're eating properly. You want to make sure that they're grooming themselves or that you're able to help them by brushing. They need a clean environment. Some bunnies can be litter box trained. So there's a whole world. When you start talking rabbit, there's a whole world involved just as complicated and complex as dogs and cats. So you want to give some thought before you adopt a rabbit. But this is Dumbledore, and he is looking for a forever home. This handsome guy is Leo. He was turned in by his owners for not getting along with the other family cat. We do not advocate declawing, but Leo came to us front declawed. A lot of times we get adopters that will come in and they're looking specifically for cats that are front declawed, so Leo would be a good choice. He's an adult cat. He's about four and a half years old. He's already been neutered. He would be a relatively quick adoption prior to leaving here. We'll make sure he's microchipped, but he did arrive up to date on vaccines. So his family kept him indoors. They did a great job as far as his temperament, personality, and keeping track of him. But again, the situation with the other family cat was something that they were unable to manage. But Leo is here now. We can always offer some tips and tricks for introducing him to your family if you have an existing cat. We're going to go ahead and take a short break. When we get back, we've got 5 more felines that we will be looking at to hopefully find them forever homes.
Enjoy an afternoon with your furry four-legged friend at Parks and Recreation's annual Bark in the Park event. Your pooch will have an opportunity to run free in one of our off-leash areas, test and sharpen their skills on the agility course, and participate in doggy contests. Bark in the Park also provides great opportunities for families to adopt a dog, learn different training techniques, and sample dog-related products. With live demonstrations throughout the day, the event is sure to be a doggone good time. Pre-registration is encouraged, so visit recreator.com for more information.
Help protect the environment and prevent prescription drug misuse by disposing of all your expired and unwanted household medications and prescription drugs safely. The Frederick County Health Department has teamed up with local law enforcement to provide 6 convenient drop-off sites for unwanted medication within the county. Locations include the Frederick Police Department, the Thurmont Police Department, the Frederick County Law Enforcement Center, the Brunswick Police Department, the Middletown Municipal Center, and the 2nd floor of the Emmitsburg Community Center. Keep track of what's going on in the County Executive's office by visiting frederickcountymd.gov/Gardner. Here you'll find the office's latest news, Jan Gardner's weekly public schedule, meeting information, and much more.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Welcome back to Pet Pals. Now we're going to take a look at 5 of our felines that are looking for forever homes. First up is Kiki. Kiki came to us as an owner surrender. Typically through the year, about 50% of the cat or of the animals that we take in total are owner surrenders and about half are stray. Sometimes on Pet Pals, the more predominant ones that tend to be on are previously owned, and we do that for purposes of education. Just to reiterate the fact that if you have a pet in your family, you want to make sure that you plan accordingly before you take one on. But Kiki was acquired from his previous owner as a gift, and that person was unable to financially afford him. So keep that in mind if you're considering giving someone a pet for a gift. Have a conversation with that person. Might be a better idea to help provide maybe a basket of toys or food, or go shopping at one of the local stores to get accessories for a pet, but have a good long conversation if that person can afford a vet and other things that animals need. So we brought Kiki up to date on vaccines. He arrived without those things and without any vet on board. He also is still intact. So prior to leaving here, he will be neutered, he'll be microchipped, he'll have all the preventatives that he needs on board. He is about 8 to 10 months and weighing in at about 8 pounds, which is a good weight for his age. The average cat weighs about 8 to 9 pounds, and he's a boy. He's still intact at this age, so he might end up being a little bit bigger. He's got a great personality, great temperament, and this is one of my favorite age groups. Kittens that are 8 to 10 weeks are adorable, but 8 to 10 months you can start to see their personality kind of being established. So this is Kiki, and he is just one of many cats and kittens right now available for adoption. So for those of you that have been anxiously awaiting kitten season, it's here. Seymour is just one example of many kittens that we have. Seymour has been in foster care, so he just came back to the shelter. So over the next couple of weeks, we will be seeing more and more kittens. Seymour is just about 12 weeks now. He's about 3.5 pounds. And as a product of foster care, he definitely has an enthusiastic outlook on life. He is healthy, he's good-natured, he's I would say easy to handle in the sense that he is agreeable to it, but he would much more, his preference would be to be exploring the room right now, as you can tell. And that's normal for kittens. You won't find too many kittens that are just happy sitting in your lap. They are new to the world and everything is exciting, and he's definitely demonstrating that outlook. But he's our little domestic short hair, black and white. Prior to leaving here, he will be neutered, microchipped, and everything else that goes along with an adoption. One of the things that we recommend prior to adopting a cat or kitten, you want to make sure that you are prepared to do an appropriate introduction. We do an adoption interview, and we continue to reiterate the fact that when you adopt a new feline in your family, you need to keep them isolated for about 10 to 14 days. That can be a small bedroom, that can be a powder room. There's no difference in putting in a cat in a powder room than having them in a cage in the shelter. If you allow them access to your whole entire house, which is what some people think is the kinder thing to do, you're actually confusing the issue. You are overstimulating them. It's too much to take on. It can be overwhelming. So then we get calls 2 or 3 days later. Our newly adopted kitten that we let roam through our whole 3-level single-family home is hiding from us. They're under the couch. They're behind the refrigerator. We can't find them. Yeah, that will happen. So that's why we recommend if you put a feline just in a small room for about 10 to 14 days, they can acclimate gently. They will hear your coffee maker and your garage door opener and your TV and the morning routine of making breakfast, and then as people come home through the day. So that's why we do it. We don't recommend that to be cruel. We recommend that to hopefully ensure a successful adoption. This little guy is Charlie. Charlie came to us. He is from Shirley Bond Road in Mount Airy. And the person that brought him in had found him about a month ago, so mid-March, around that area as a stray, and took him in for a month. And you know, if you're missing a pet, continue to look as long as your heart guides you to, because you never know if your pet will show up weeks later, months later. Don't get discouraged if you haven't found a lost pet yet. But so Charlie started off as a stray, was in someone's home for a month. She tried to find their family, was unable to, so now he's here. But if you do find a stray animal and you do have it in your home or take it in and want to hang on to it, make sure that you call the shelter and file what we call a found report. We're going to encourage you to bring a stray pet to us so that we can have it in our facility to expedite returning to an owner, and we can make sure that the owner is legitimate and all the things that folks typically worry about. But in the case of Charlie, that didn't happen. So Charlie's here now, available for adoption. He is a great cat. He's about 8 to 10 months old. He's about 7.5 pounds, gorgeous orange tabby and white, and just a great personality. And again, that 8 to 10 month old age range certainly outshines, I think, a lot of our younger kittens, because you just see that personality starting to level off, and you kind of can gauge an idea of what type of adult cat he's going to be. So again, this is Charlie prior to leaving here. He will be neutered, microchipped, and have everything on board that he needs to have to become somebody's forever pet. This little girl we named Sapphire. She actually came to us, believe it or not, as a stray from downtown Frederick, West All Saints Street. So again, if you're missing an animal, you want to check with our facility, at least call in a lost report. But the best thing to do is always to come to the shelter during the hours that we're open and walk through. We will escort you through the whole entire building, to see if your lost pet is here. Additionally, if you do lose a pet, you want to make sure that you provide us with a photo. Sapphire is pretty distinct looking, but not all cats are. So if you have a brown tabby, an orange tabby, you want to make sure that you provide us a photo so that we can see some of the distinctive marks on your pet. Sapphire is a seal point. We've got her down as a Siamese mix. Looks like she's not been spayed yet. We've examined her, so prior to leaving here, she will be spayed. She'll be microchipped, so that in case she goes wandering again from her adoptive family, we can return her easily if she does get lost from her family. She weighs a little over 10 pounds, and one thing that we do with all of our cats that we place for adoption prior to placing them, we test them for feline leukemia and feline immunodeficiency virus. She's tested negative for both of those things. And with Sapphire, even though she is an adult cat, she's about 1 to 2 years old, we would also recommend during our adoption interview that you would keep her isolated for about 10 to 14 days in a small area, a small room, and again, that's to help her acclimate to your home, to get used to the noises and the sounds and the smells and the routine of the hustle and bustle sometimes of families. And then after that 10 to 14 day period, when you think she might be more comfortable, to let her out of that small area, and then she'll know what to expect. There won't be any surprises to her. It's just a matter of acclimating. It's not a matter of being cruel. And the other thing that can happen is that when pets have been to an animal shelter, regardless of whether it's our facility or another facility, they can start harboring illness because they've come from a home or wherever they've come from, and now they are in a population. At the moment, we have about 100 cats and kittens in our population. So they come into a large population and they might acquire an illness that might be going around. So that's another reason to isolate cats when you first bring them to your home. But this is Sapphire, a stray from Frederick City. So we started Pet Pals this week with a Phoebe, canine, and we're going to end our show with a Phoebe feline. So this is Phoebe. She was previously owned. She was with her family for most of her life. She's 8 years old now. And someone in the family developed allergies, and that's why Phoebe is with us now. So again, moving and allergies are the two primary reasons that animals end up with us. There's definitely ways to manage allergies. I'm not a doctor, and I recommend that if you've got kids in your family, that you talk to your pediatrician or doctor. But sometimes managing it means that the cat is not allowed to roam through the whole entire house, that you keep them to limit the areas that they're allowed to be in. Don't allow them to sleep with whomever it is that has the allergies. Make sure that they stay out of those bedrooms. But Phoebe's with us now. She's a big girl. She's a little over 13 pounds on the larger side. Gorgeous brown tabby. She's got some white on her. We've brought her up to speed on vaccines. We went ahead and ran our feline leukemia, feline immunodeficiency virus test, and she's negative on both of those things. And for her life, she has been predominantly an indoor cat, which we recommend. In Frederick County, both dogs and cats need to be maintained on your property, under your control, and not creating a nuisance. So that's the easiest way to do that with a cat, is to keep them indoors. It is extremely difficult to maintain cats outdoors, even with fencing. Some people try to do it and some people are successful, but again, if your neighbor is not on board with that, then you need to be respectful of your neighbor as well as the ordinances to keep them on your property. Phoebe has been around babies through 6 years old, so she is tolerant of children, and we have her color-coded green. So I'm guessing here in the shelter, being on the older side, she might be a little bit shy. We do color code all of our animals. Blue are typically your lap dogs and lap cats, and the animals that are most resistant or resilient in a shelter environment. Orange means that they're good, except that and content here. They might have a couple of little quirks, or especially with dogs, they might need some training or some reminders of training that they once had. And then green are our animals that need a little more work. They would need maybe an adopter that's a little more savvy, and in the case of Phoebe, we would prefer her to go to somebody who has cat experience. or somebody that's extremely patient and willing to accept an 8-year-old cat into your home. Cats can live an average of 15 years indoors, so she's not old by any stretch of the imagination, but she does qualify for a senior pet discount. So this is Phoebe, again, looking for a forever home. And that wraps it up for this week's Pet Pals. We are so glad you could join us. If you've seen any pets here that you're interested in adopting, or if you know somebody that you might want to send to the shelter, please do that. Have a great week, and we will see you next time on Pet Pals.
Serving on the front lines, the Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center has 6 animal control officers and a supervisor. These officers cover all of Frederick County, including the municipalities and Frederick City.
We're mostly complaint-driven, which means a citizen from the county or somebody that happens to be in our area calls in a complaint to either our office or the Emergency Communications Department. We respond to all types of complaints with domestic animals, from running at large to the pickup of stray animals, injured, sick, complaints of neglect and cruelty, and animal bites. For the wildlife here in Frederick County, we only respond to calls for sick, injured, or possibly rabid. Depending on that information, we'll dispatch an animal control officer to that location to investigate the complaint, to find out if it's valid, if there's a basis for the complaint, and then we can take action based on the officer's findings. Our first tool is education. We talk to people every day, we educate people every day on how to be a more responsible pet owner, educate them on the local laws and ordinances here in Frederick County. If education doesn't work, we can proceed to verbal warnings, written warnings, and then ultimately civil citations, which is a fine. Our fines in Frederick County begin at $50 for a first offense, $75 for a second offense, and $100 for a third and subsequent.
Most of the animals brought into the shelter are picked up as strays or are relinquished by their owners, but regardless of how they ended up here, all the animals are brought in through Animal Control's intake area.
They're all processed, photographed, documented, and placed in the appropriate area. We have different areas for cats, dogs, animals that are healthy, animals that are sick or aggressive. So once they become residents here at the Animal Control Center, we start to evaluate them for health and temperament, and then based on our findings, they'll put on a pathway, hopefully to adoption, rescue, or to be placed in a permanent home.
If you need to contact an animal control officer, officers are in the office daily from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., and an officer is on call every night from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. for animal-related emergencies.
Our phone is the quickest and most efficient way to reach us. The direct line for the officers is 301-600-1544. For an animal-related emergency, please call 301-600-2558. That phone number will be answered 24/7. You'll always reach a person. Whatever information is relayed to the dispatcher, they can in turn send it out to the animal control officers. We respond to calls based on priority. Calls for aggressive animals, animal bites, neglect and cruelty, sick, possibly rabid, assisting other agencies in the county. Those are priority calls, so we try to handle those first. Some of our less important calls, like the pickup of stray animals, general information complaints, nuisance barking, things like that, we'll handle as quickly as possible. But like I said, we have priority calls that we try to focus on first.